Hello again, everyone. Thank you for your time today. Today we'll be discussing how online training can be used to increase compliance rates within your organisation. Now, to give you a bit of background on myself, I've been working closely with health and social care organisations over the last 2.5 years to help both launch and also support their online training programmes. I've worked with a variety of customers, from large NHS trusts with in excess of 5,000 staff to hospices with only 50 permanent staff. I'll be sharing some of my experiences.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I thought a good starting point for today would be to discuss the Care Quality Commission's guidance on staff training. Now, whether training is to be delivered face-to-face or online, CQC officers will be looking for evidence that current legislation and guidance is referred to where appropriate. They'll also look at staff induction programmes and also the ongoing staff training requirements. As part of this, they'll be looking for evidence that support is available to staff not only to complete their statutory and mandatory training, but also training that's specifically related to their job role. I also thought it important to touch on the Skills for Health Core Skills Training Framework. Now, the framework is an industry standard for healthcare professionals, allowing you to ensure all staff receive the same basic level of training. The main benefit of this is that both healthcare providers and their staff are clear exactly what training they need to complete, but also when they are due to refresh, and obviously crucially to remain compliant. If you do decide to incorporate online learning into your training programme, there are a number of factors to consider. I've displayed a few up on screen for you here today. Some of them may appear as obvious, but they do often get overlooked. Firstly, do you have the IT infrastructure in place to support online training? This does apply to both small and large organisations. Are your learners proficient at using computers? I guess the answer is the majority will be, but this brings me to my next point. Do you have a team in place who can support the rollout? For instance, a number of organisations I work with hold facilitated sessions for staff who are wary of computers, and I've seen some great benefits from this. Another crucial element to consider is the actual platform through which the training is to be delivered. This brings me on to my next slide. For those of you who have looked into online training previously, you may have been baffled by some of the terminology that gets bandied about. Terms such as LMS, VLE, MLE. I'll quickly run through these with you. So LMS stands for Learning Management System, VLE, Virtual Learning Environment, MLE, Managed Learning Environment. Now, these tools all do exactly the same thing. There's just a slightly different wording to their description. They're basically all tools that allow you to store and also deliver online training to your organisation. They also allow you, as system administrators, to track and monitor compliance. When looking at which online training programme to opt for, consideration should be given to the platform. You want to make it as simple as possible for learners, but also your system administrators as well. Consider looking at providers who offer frontline support to both your learners and also administrators. Another key point to consider is where the platform will be hosted. Do you want a cloud-based system with no software to download, or would you be looking at hosting the system locally within your organisation? This brings me to our next point today. How do you ensure an online training package is tailored to your organisation's needs? The best start point, should I say, is to go right from the beginning and your staff induction. As I touched on earlier, the CQC do expect evidence of robust induction processes, so they should definitely not be overlooked. Take time to have a think about your current induction process. How are you onboarding staff? Can this be enhanced? One of the trusts that I work with adopted online trainings into their induction programme and managed to streamline their induction down from 7 days to just 3. And I believe it is really imperative, if you are looking to build that culture of compliance, to start at the induction and communicate to your staff your expectations around compliance. Now, there are many online training providers out there, so picking the one Picking the correct one may be daunting. Learner engagement in the training must be of paramount importance. So why not test the waters? Ask providers to preview their course material to ensure the content is interactive and engaging and also obviously meets your needs. Effective online training should include work-based scenarios, reflective practice exercises, and also case studies, as well as referencing the latest legislation and guidance. Also, if you are looking at statutory and mandatory training, please ensure any training you do commission is mapped to the core skills training framework. When purchasing training, it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Look for providers who can provide training for the different job roles you have within your organisation. A great way of localising training is to upload your policies and procedures to the system. Look for providers who will allow you to upload your own resources to supplement your training. A number of organisations I work with choose to upload, for example, their fire evacuation videos and also the relevant policies and procedures. One of the benefits here of an online system as opposed to a face-to-face delivery is that you have an electronic record that a staff member has accessed your policies and procedures. So now we'll move on to successfully implementing an online training programme and creating that culture of compliance that we're striving for. So look at providers who will work with you from the outset, who will attend planning meetings with yourself and your colleagues. During my time with Virtual College, I have devised a 10-step implementation plan that I'm going to cover off with you today. It's important to note this plan isn't rigid and can be adapted, but it will definitely set you off on the right track. The organisations that I work with have found this plan has really helped them think about the different aspects to a successful implementation, but also the ongoing success of the project. So on screen now, you should be able to see the 10-step plan. So I'll just briefly talk you through each of them. So first of all, we've got identify a project management team. So you should be looking to draw colleagues from different areas of the organisation, and these colleagues can then obviously drive the project forward and influence others within their area of the organisation. Secondly, it's important to appoint a project manager who will then take overall responsibility for coordinating the implementation and can then report back to top management on progress. Number 3, aims and objectives. So this could be things like how many people are you looking to train in years 1, years 2, years 3. Tied in with that is number 4, the measurement system. So which KPIs are important to you? Obviously today, I guess it's all going to be around compliance. So set a benchmark that you're looking to achieve and ensure that you meet up regularly to monitor progress with this. Number 5, develop a communication strategy. It's really important to win support from all levels within your organisation. Communicate as positively as possible about the new learning delivery method and how it will ultimately make learners' lives easier. Number 6, I touched on earlier, the technology infrastructure. So get together with your team, maybe involve your IT department, and have a look at the IT infrastructure you have in place. You need to be considering things like the availability of computers, access to the internet, and any software required. Once this has been done, create an action plan to resolve any issues prior to going live. Then we come on to hardware. Are all your PCs sound enabled? Some learners prefer to listen to audio, whereas others will just prefer to read the information from the screen. Number 8, we've got marketing. So this is about really communicating it to your learners. Why not put something on your website, a little article about the new training that's available, or similarly something on your internet? Something from the organisations that I currently work with that's proved really popular is having an email footer directing them to the launch page for the training. Number 9 is actually considering setting up the system itself. So to generate the compliance reports that you need, it's really key to address this at the planning stage to ensure that you can pull off the management information that you require. Part of this is identifying administrators within your organisation. So they may just sit within your learning and development team, but you might also want to give access to departmental heads as well. Number 10, once you've obviously identified your system administrators, is to actually get them in a room and actually undertake some system training prior to going live, enabling them to run reports and obviously monitor compliance on an ongoing basis. So, to sum up this sort of implementation phase, I really can't stress enough the importance of the planning stage. Make sure you pick a provider who will work with you and support you at all stages of your e-learning journey. Getting buy-in from all levels within the organisation, from top to bottom, and where possible, linking the training to other organisational objectives really helps to create that culture of compliance. After the project goes live, ensure the project team meet up on a quarterly or even maybe monthly basis to make sure the original objectives are being met. If they're not, you can then put in action plans to address this. Moving forward from there, in my experience, it's a great choice to have an annual review to discuss feedback from all areas of the organisation, but most importantly from the learners. Doing this will ensure over the coming years the project will manage itself, freeing up staff to spend more time with service users, which ultimately is what it is all about. So thank you for your time today, everyone. We've had a few questions sent in over the last few weeks, which I will address first of all. Feel free to type any questions in. We are running out of time, so if you don't get time to cover them, I will get back to you. Alternatively, I've displayed my contact details on screen, so feel free to either give me a call or just drop me a quick email, and we can set up a chat moving forwards. So, we had a question sent in. Would it be useful to have information on refresher periods? So I thought here I would cover off the subjects outlined in the core skills training framework. So we've got equality and diversity. The guidance dictates that this should be renewed every 3 years. Similarly, health and safety and conflict resolution should also be renewed every 3 years. Fire safety should be refreshed every 2 years. Those who do have fire warden responsibility should look to do it on an annual basis though. For infection prevention and control, this is split down into two strands. So those staff who are in a non-clinical role should be looking to refresh every 3 years, whereas those staff who are in a clinical role should be refreshing annually. Moved in handling training should be completed every 2 years, but local risk assessment should be taken into account. For safeguarding adults and safeguarding children training, this should be done every 3 years. Resuscitation, or otherwise known as basic life support, should be refreshed on an annual basis. And similarly, information governance should be done by all staff on an annual basis. Another question that we have had in is, I'm considering using e-learning to deliver my mandatory training. How long does it take a learner to complete? Now, what I would say here is it does depend on the learners themselves. One of the trusts that I work with have recently done their annual review, and it worked out over the 3,500 staff that staff members were taking on average 4¼ hours to complete their mandatory training through the online delivery route. Previously, they were doing it face-to-face, and it was taking them 9 hours to complete, and that's not taking into account the associated travel time, refreshment costs, etc., etc. So, what next? We will be sending out a recording of today's webinar to the email address that you've provided. Feel free to share the recording with any of your interested colleagues. If they do have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them to get in touch with me. You'll also receive a case study from one of our member organisations outlining just some of the benefits they realised of adopting our own statutory and mandatory training package. Thank you for your time, everyone. Bye-bye.